It's obvious that Mercedes' early struggles in misjudging its 2022 Formula One car concept severely compromised in-season development, but Toto Wolff has now quantified the loss to his team's aerodynamicists. Want to know what Toto Wolff told about the development gap between them and Red Bull? Stick till the end of this video to find out. Mercedes has still thrown new parts at the W13, including a recent front wing upgrade for Mexico that had to be modified before it was considered legal to race, and it has outscored Ferrari comprehensively over the past 2 races, suggesting Mercedes is slowly clawing its way back into the hunt. But inherent weaknesses remain, particularly in regard to a rear suspension setup that generally prevents the car from being run in the ideal ride height range to produce decent downforce without the car bouncing too aggressively and then shedding that load over bumps and curbs and rattling its drivers' brains and spines. Mercedes worked to understand the root cause of that disturbance early in the season and has since added performance to the car, but the team is now hinting at a change of concept for 2023 to try to lift it properly into the fight with Ferrari and Red Bull. This will not be the work of a moment, and Wolff admitted the team will need to play a long game to overcome many months of development time lost to Red Bull during this self-inflicted need to problem solve at the start of the season. We believe we understand where the gap comes from, and we've lost 8 or 10 months in terms of development because we couldn't figure out what was wrong. Wolff said in the aftermath of his team's comprehensive defeat to Red Bull in the Mexican Grand Prix. So there's definitely a challenge and we are playing the long game here, all of us. You can't judge the team's performance on a single year, but how we've been able to win championships over the long term. Mercedes expected Mexico to be its best remaining chance to win a race in 2022, thanks to the high altitude and relatively smooth track surface, maximizing the car's strengths on high downforce settings and minimizing the impact of the usual drag penalty that carries. But George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, despite being fast, still ultimately missed out on pole position before Max Verstappen beat Hamilton convincingly in the race, so there's still a huge amount of work to do for Mercedes to get back to fighting consistently at the front. I always see the glass half empty, so there's nothing to really see positive, Wolff said. Red Bull has just had 9 wins in a row, no reason to be overwhelmed with finishing 2nd and 4th. We have a long way to catch up, we have the winter, doing some good development on the car, some of the things we are finding might be better steps than just adding a few points of downforce. After Brazil we maybe have more of a picture, he added. I don't think they are suddenly half a minute slower than us. And by the way, if you are enjoying the content we create at Overtake Fans, do consider subscribing to the channel to receive latest Formula One updates. Ferrari had specific problems in Mexico, some related to the car setup and ride quality that the team says it doesn't fully understand yet, and some related to the engine configuration, particularly a small and less efficient turbo configuration than its main rivals, which handicapped the engine severely on the straights and coming off the corners. Team boss Mattia Binotto said Ferrari also stopped developing its 2022 car some time ago in order to focus on next season, so perhaps the Scuderia will put up a better fight in 2023 too. I think here it has been a lot more difficult, and I'm hoping that's not a trend, but an outstanding weekend for us, Binotto said of Mexico. The hope is first try to analyze what's going on, what have been the main issues here in Mexico, and try to be back at our level of competitiveness at least for the last 3 races, 2 Grand Prix plus a sprint, including Sao Paulo. The hope is to be there and fight for a better result. Now Mercedes is coming back as they develop more on the car than we did. We know ourselves that we stopped quite early the development of the car, focusing on 2023, so somehow I'm not too concerned about the rate of development because I know when we stopped developing it. Red Bull too thought Mercedes was somewhat flattered by the specific circumstances of Mexico, so expect something closer to the normal order of things to be resumed before the season concludes. I think this track has suited their strengths, said Christian Horner at Mexico. Ferrari looked like they were a little bit handicapped this weekend, so I'm not sure you saw their real pace. I'm sure they'll be back. But whether Mercedes can get properly back to the level it expects consistently next year will depend on somehow overcoming the development head start it handed its rivals at the beginning of this season and somehow unlocking significantly more downforce than the W13 can produce now at a higher range of ride heights than it currently wants to sit in. All this at a time when F1's budget cap reduces further still for 2023, so experimentation in the wind tunnel and on CFD must become increasingly precise. Those extra aerodynamic testing allowances for Mercedes next year, relative to Ferrari and Red Bull, thanks to F1's new performance balancing in this area, are going to be vital and require a high degree of accuracy and efficiency when deployed if Mercedes is to somehow make good on its promise to become a championship contender again. But what are your thoughts, guys? Do you think Mercedes can become a genuine contender in the 2023 season, or is the development gap going to play its part next season? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Want to know how Mercedes screwed up its strategy at Mexico? Click on the video box shown on your screen now. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, it really helps to share our content out to more people. Thank you for watching this video, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next video.